Good evening. Welcome to the Petaluma Community Access Board of Directors meeting for Tuesday, November 15th, 2011. Would the secretary please call the roll?
Thomas.
Here.
Adams.
Here.
Pearson.
Here.
Guy. Johnson. Davies.
Here.
Fishman. Williamson.
Here.
Bertucci.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum and we'll open with public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to Board of Directors comments and announcements. Do we have anything tonight, folks?
I have something for tomorrow night. There's a meeting here at for the post office closing in Petaluma. The meeting is between 6 and 7:30.
For the postal processing facility?
The
Right.
post, they want to close, yeah, post office.
What's it for?
Which one or all three?
Both, the one on McDowell and the one on McDowell Extension, the one on,
But not the one downtown?
Not the one downtown,
I don't think so, just the,
right.
and the one on McDowell is where all the mail
Yeah,
goes.
they would close the entire facility or
Mhm.
just the
They-
regional?
They closing the entire,
Wow.
boat building, 228 position.
People
going
emailing
to
too much
open.
these days.
I guess so. That's a busy post office. I mean,
Well, it's that and people are cutting back on doing a lot of,
And you know,
advertising mailings.
right, of course.
you mail here at our post office, and the next day people get their mail. Now it's going to take 2 days, 3 days.
Which is gonna encourage more people to do things electronically.
Right.
That's
So it's like,
Okay.
So,
anyway.
Okay, anybody else?
Lower service levels is the quickest way to hire sales.
You don't have any announcements, Tim?
No, just snide comments.
Okay, just the norm. Okay, has everybody looked at the agenda? Can we get a motion to approve it?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, does anyone disapprove? Okay. Everybody look at the minutes? That would be the minutes of the October 18th, 2011 meeting. If we don't have any corrections or changes to that, then I'll look for a motion on that as well.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Everybody in approval for the minutes?
I will abstain because I was not here.
You weren't here and you...
And I was not here either, so I'll abstain.
Okay, so the four of us can approve that. Any problems? Okay. Treasurer's report, please. Matt?
Everyone should have got updated profit and loss balance and budget performance statements in their mail. I'm not sure if John has reported earlier, but there is a slight decreasing trend in our income from the DIVCA checks, which is a topic of concern that we're monitoring closely. At this point, it's not going to be affecting any of our budget at this point, but it might affect the budget for next year. And the other items that we're working on is, I think, separate items that are attached later for the, hold on a second here. Did you put the draft of the financial statements in here?
The audit's on the
Audits-
agenda.
That's what I thought, so I didn't see it yet. So, anybody have any questions?
Have we got a rough pulse on what percentage the revenue is lower due to DIVCA?
I'm not saying it's lower due to DIVCA, it's just lower due to the sales have decreased in the city.
Okay, well, what percentage lower are we? over last year?
10,000 a quarter, that's 40.
Per quarter?
Per quarter, that's 40,000 a year. I would say that's, let's see.
40,000 a year will work. It's in the 15,
We went
20%
from-
range.
Basically, we went from 203,000 to 200
But you developed current fiscal year budget with this.
with these numbers. And I am monitoring these numbers very closely. I'm taking weekly counts on how many staff hours are going out. And I did a first quarter review to look at actual numbers, to watch all the budget lines to see if any of them are drifting. And we're doing quite well.
Okay, so Matt, then how does this become a problem next fiscal year? We've already got,
It's not that, it's just maybe a factor in developing the budget for next year that we try to build ourselves a little bit of a pad. If this is an increasing trend that the revenues from DivCo are decreasing and that people are
pad's
switching.
gone.
Huh?
Pad's gone.
The pad's gone, and so we may choose to make a further reduced operating budget next year if we just see a continuing trend of decreasing budget. If people are, say, switching to DirecTV and Dish and we're not getting tax revenue off or DivCo revenue off of it, or just cutting services back because of the economy.
Yeah, I would pipe in on that. The Comcast checks have not been growing. They've been shrinking, maybe $200, $500, fluctuating downwards. And I talked to Ray about that, who has friends in AT&T, and they are looking at a decrease. They anticipate a decrease because of the economy. People are just going for cheaper. They're offering cheaper.
Yeah, they're offering.
So
And Comcast has that $29 thing going.
yeah.
You know,
Talking
but
about it.
technology is changing so much. I mean, AT&T Uverse is offering boxes that are wireless now.
Yeah.
That's an attractive thing for me.
Well, and that's great, but
But the hardware's all lost leader, and then they give you an introductory offer that'll last 12 to 24 months. So, yeah, people are cutting back and they turn around and offer compelling reasons to sign up. But the reasons are that it costs less to sign up, so that we see the back end of the it costs less to
Right.
sign up. I mean, it makes a certain amount of sense. I was just curious how much and whether it's a real steady, serious, but you know, when we're only getting a check every 3 months, it's kind of hard to really plot it yet. We're just barely 12 months into our first full DivCo.
when does the city get the reports for revenue?
For which reports?
Doesn't they get an audited report for what sales were for the cable companies?
I haven't seen one for a while.
Okay.
I'm sure that we do get them in finance along with the franchise fee check.
We used to get them when it was the voluntary and mandatory.
Yeah, they changed what they present and along with the check. Now, so PCA is getting from the city, right?
Yeah.
Because
we got a
they're
check,
sending both piles to finance, and they're.
and then it's forwarded quite quickly.
That's good.
But I used to be able to see how much Comcast made in that quarter, and I could see the 5% going to the city, and then the pay fees were kind of separate.
And that the spreadsheet used to contain quantity of subscribers too.
Yeah, and I don't, well, I'm not seeing those. So
I haven't seen a spreadsheet in quite a while. I'll
Sort of
I'll check.
hampered there to figure out why.
I don't know if why is gonna matter.
Well,
We're just kinda taking
I'm
up
just
the
sort of
seconds.
curious.
Yeah.
You know, long term, you know, if this is more than an economic issue, we need to, you know, just think about the, you know, always change the direction of the organization.
Yeah. Or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that on the agenda later? I mean, interestingly, as people buy new TVs, and the economy improves and they buy more TVs, the newer TVs have all the built-in web TV stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting because it's not just economic related, in my opinion, it's also just
Technology.
future related.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
And
way
in
people
2 to
are
3
years, Apple and all these companies will have, you know, Apple TV working correctly. And it'll be
correctly.
easy to bypass cable companies and just work right off of the web. You know, so I think that trend will continue on a number of fronts.
I mean, you still may be working with the cable companies like Comcast for the
Right.
internet itself, but yes, for the
Not gonna be
content.
paying $60 to see Giants games.
Anyway, so it's hard because there's a number of factors, I think. I think it's not just economy. I know my personal bill went down because I thought it was too high, and I called them and told them about an offer that I had, and they immediately lowered it on the spot. So if there are people doing that too, of course it hurts.
I
Yeah.
did it too.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I would say the bigger problem though in 3 years is technology change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we might begin researching options. I mean, I did mention last month that there's another window for a low power FM. We are working towards, well, it's on my director's report. We have online viewing options now through YouTube, and there's a possibility we could be streaming.
And then there's potential revenue there. But you gotta have a lot of hits.
Yeah, and then we start having advertising all over our website, and you know, these are bigger issues
Yeah.
that we need to be alert to.
Well, another thing you alluded to at the last meeting was the idea of transitioning to a service provider in the sense of, you know, having a studio and renting time and things like
We
that.
can go to there and director's report.
Okay.
Okay, so, what else do you have to report, Matt? Anything?
Not for this agenda topic.
Okay, does anybody on this agenda topic have any questions?
I think we beat it up pretty well.
None whatsoever.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes, thanks. Okay, executive director's report, please, John?
Very good. First item on my list is the board contact list. I'll circulate that around. I don't think we need Neil and Ray, so I'll hang on to. This includes Neil, it includes the new elections and the appointments. I did take the liberty to assume we were going to appoint Matt tonight, so I changed his date. And if it doesn't happen, I can change it again. But here's your new contact list.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
May I make two suggestions here, if I may? One, I'm wondering if we can get this electronically as always, just so that it's easier to
I can do that.
mention. Thank you, secondly. And I think we had talked about, and I'm certainly in favor of changing our email addresses to our PCA addresses rather than our personal or work addresses, because those all come to us, and I think that probably would be more appropriate for our organization to have that branding in place, and then also, you know, for privacy issues as needed.
This is an internal,
This is internal.
correct? This is just for us.
I use the PCA for Matt.
You use what, sorry?
I used Matt's PCA, he requested that, for internal communications.
Okay, well, just maybe for the next one, or, you know, no big.
Okay, the
no
next time I
big-
do, I'll.
Yeah.
Or at least add the PCA address to the listing.
And certainly if you know, a member of the public should ask for a email, which I hope they do if they have a question or
Oh, yeah,
concern.
this
to
is
the
not for
PCA.
the public.
Okay,
Public would get the PCA one, that's what it was created for.
great, thank you.
Okay, then we have, we are moving into inaugurating our training program with the new Final Cut Pro 10. Luckily, we have our instructor here to answer any questions. Van will be teaching this class on Wednesday nights, and he put together this, do I have enough?
Nice.
Yes, should have enough. We put together this syllabus. Here's some more to send down. We're treading into new water here. I mean, we've been doing experimental procedures the first 2 years. Zach and I did 6 months each of training classes. Then we went in to try 6 months with the community center here, trying to attract new people through that. It's labor intensive, but we did anchor it on a Wednesday night when the office is closed. That's been very effective. The Final Cut Pro 10 is a whole new system that we're learning now. So this is experimental, and because it's experimental, we have it defined that advanced classes would be with a fee, but we're offering this for free to get it started. I think you did a great job, Dan.
Yeah, it looks very thorough. Yeah.
When's the?
Thumbs
when
up
does
or
the class
thumbs down
start?
on
It's
Final
on there. It starts the November
10.
30th.
Man.
These would be 3-hour classes. Three weeks.
It's a-
You better like it.
That's a so-so thumb.
Yeah, 3 hours is heavy, but then if you've got a curriculum, and you have people who are motivated, we also, Van also prepared a questionnaire that will be going on our website so that we get a reading on where people are when they come in. We've had a lot of trouble with people who just aren't Mac friendly, and they just can't go to the editing. It's just a struggle to get them to handle their keyboard, let alone Final Cut Pro. Also Final Cut Pro 10, if you've never used Final Cut, I think you'll have a ball with it. But if you've done Final Cut, it's like unlearning a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So Jason's in trouble.
I'm actually okay because
This one?
well, I use Final Cut Pro,
Mhm.
but not super heavily. So I didn't get deep enough to where I'm having to spend a lot of time relearning. It's actually refreshing. For my needs, I'm finding it very easy to use. And just as an example, I was having a heck of a time just doing a really simple thing of plotting words to specific parts of the audio, and trying to do that in Final Cut with motion I found very cumbersome as opposed to working in Final Cut Pro X. So what they have done, I think, is built a lot more into Final Cut so that a larger swath of people are going to get what they need right out of the gate. I mean, it's smart. They're going after people that don't already have it, iMovie users.
Are they still going to have the high-end version? I thought you mentioned that this was kind of the cut-back version.
This is definitely cut back.
They claim that they're going to be upgrading it. What the partnership manager I have at Apple for our company, when I discussed this topic, said, look at this as what the first version of OS 10 was. This is a migration. This is a totally new 64-bit code base.
Mhm.
And as a consequence, it's like it's rebuilding the app from scratch. I mean, what we knew of Final Cut is very dated. I mean, they acquired that product from Macromedia and shoehorned a lot of great stuff into it. But where Apple's going and the new architecture of the machines and the operating system, I mean, the writing was on the wall. They had to do a rewrite. And so what we're seeing is the first incarnation of that. I think the biggest backlash, this bit me a little bit, is the requirement for new video cards that older Macs don't support. My Mac is not that old. It's an 8-core Mac Pro that's probably 4 years old now or something. It worked fine with the last version of Final Cut. I can't even install the update to the latest Final Cut 10 directly on the machine. The App Store tells me, no, it won't work on your machine because of this video card. What I did was I downloaded it to my other machine, which is compatible, even though it's only a Mac Pro PowerBook. I mean, I don't get this. They've got an 8-core and anyway. And I put it on my machine, my Mac Pro, and it does actually work. It came up with a message saying I don't have the optimized video card. But they're either trying to, I mean, it's probably a combination. They don't want to keep supporting an older video card, and they want people to buy new machines. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think you can read some market study and a different strategy. I think maybe they can read that the Final Cut Pro high-end is a dying market.
For them.
It's a small market.
What it is, it's a reprioritization. I mean, you saw ever since the release of the iPhone, everything that's happened is Apple's become more consumer-centric. And if you just look at the ratio of return, it's clear that it's bigger bang for Apple to go that direction.
So they're not going head-to-head with Avid anymore?
Or
Avid went bargain basement with all theirs, so I mean, they dropped the price
So they
from
dropped the high-end
5,000 to
stuff too?
500.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
really
Avid is on
trying
that.
to-
So
for
this is a
pros.
trend.
A lot of pros are moving to Avid.
There's also Premiere Pro, which is
Yeah,
Premiere, which is also trying to really go after the same market, and
Running third. Yeah.
they're making a lot of inroads though.
Mhm.
They're getting a lot of conversion from the high-end editors because of it was 64-bit and could natively handle the multi-camera format.
That's what you guys are teaching, right? Premiere?
We do because our license with
Adobe.
Adobe is unlimited for CS5 on the site. But otherwise, if I had to buy individual site license for each computer, it'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, this new program, does that affect the computer at the office?
We're gonna keep the old Final Cut, but we had to get a new operating system, Leopard, or Snow
Lion.
Lion.
Snow Leopard.
Oh, you went to
Snow
Snow
Leopard
We
Leopard.
to
considered
be able to
Lion,
use
but it
it.
had some compatibility issues.
One upside to this is it's really, I'm sorry, you were not finished?
No,
No, he
I-
just said there were issues.
Yeah. One upside to this is it's really integrated into YouTube and uploading. You don't export anymore, you share. So, I mean, it's really taken the Facebook interface and translated it to self-publishing little movies.
What they do claim is that they are gonna get a lot of the big pro features people have been asking for into it. It's just that they couldn't do it for the first release.
They wanted to make money off it first.
And get it out there.
Get it out there. Get
You
it
know,
out.
Sure.
because they have a whole new slate of machines coming in.
Well, thank you, Van, for putting together such a great syllabus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks like an exciting program.
I might take it.
I can't
Okay,
wait
next
to send my
item.
staff up for it.
Actually, I have a request.
Yeah.
Would it maybe be open, or Van would be open to maybe filming some of these sections and
a
indexing?
great idea.
That we could, people say, okay, you know what, I forgot how do I get
Yeah.
to my magnetic timeline section again? Maybe we could film it.
I would like to put that into the line. I wouldn't put it on the first trial run. I mean, you've got 4, maybe 8 students, all at different levels, asking different kinds of questions.
That's a good point.
To have somebody running a camera, and that's an art, to synthesize the information into the key. We have a beautiful video on how to use our Sonys that we check out, we're still checking out, but it was a high-end production. I'm not against the idea, just want to get this anchored and working before I go.
I think it's a good idea though, but not necessarily to film him while he's training other people, but just to have him running through.
No, just a screen capture while he's talking about it.
Right.
Or if something's commercially available that we're not using, maybe it's worth buying as a reference.
Or
Lynda.com.
make it and have it be commercially available through PCA as a new revenue model.
Okay.
Okay, what else do you have on your report, John?
Okay, next on the part is Aquas
Is there a
Partnership.
question?
No.
On the Aquas Partnership, this was the first stage of trying to offer the partnerships we did to nonprofits, to local businesses. Aquas was launching the community. They had a big event on Halloween. Eric was there. We provided some eye candy, some really nice visual treat, and they really appreciated it. I did a little half-hour conversation. It's become a model that I think I'm going to be offering to the Downtown Association and perhaps the library.
Nice.
That's a side note. We actually created a suggestion box on the website, and the first request that came in is, why don't you make a film about the library and that used bookstore that happens to be named after my mother? So I said, of course. Well, it's growing, and it is part of the outreach to the business community. I go to two meetings a month at the Downtown Association, helping them market and trying to bring them more in. And I brought Stephanie with me the last time. She made contacts with the Downtown Association for how to streamline their bulletin board submissions and how they could actually be a point person for all sorts of businesses that would send their notices to Jenny at the PDA, and she would send it to us, creating a branding look for them. So the background is the same for all the different information that comes through in the future. The holiday break, that's traditional. We'll be closing the office to the public from Christmas Day to New Year's Day. There will be people working. It's never posed a problem, and now with people working, you can still check things out by appointment. Now, the City Hall upgrade, we were touching on that earlier with the changing technology. Tim put together an interesting list of possible areas we could improve the City Hall configuration. You have projectors that they project on the screen. Why can't we run that image directly into our signal instead of filming it off the screen? Moving Granicus into our booth. A number of good ideas that we'd like to address. In the same breath, I'll say that we are seriously considering changing our servers. Latronics is kind of cumbersome, and our warranty expires in about 8 months. So the time might be right. This would simplify Thomas's job if we got the right one. It might make it might come with streaming capacity automatically. So we are looking into that. The flag I need to wave tonight is that this would dip into our capital expense fund pretty seriously, and that is not a replenished fund at this point. So we need to know what we're doing carefully, and I think it's connected to these technological changes. There are other aspects. The connectivity with the city has been a problem. Although I'm getting mixed signals from staff that maybe we don't need more. If we had a better interface with our servers, we could do more with what we've got. And if the server came with its own streaming capacity, that would solve that. Pixel has moved into the building, and that they brought fiber. It's not really up and running yet, as I understand, but we're keeping close tabs on that. That's an option. And our lease will come up eventually, and we need to be. I think it's the kind of thing we should start a year out thinking: do we move or do we negotiate a different price? So that the whole infrastructure around City Hall, servers, and our office space are connected with the capital expense funds. So I want to have a pretty broad spectrum of options before we move in any direction. Ongoing.
Sounds good.
Is that it?
That's it for me.
Any questions, people?
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay, we have no items on the consent calendar for tonight, so we'll go to reports of committees. And the first report will be the executive committee. We have adopted a practice of having our executive committee meetings the hour before this meeting. We're going to try and do that monthly and see how it works. And we had a meeting tonight. There was no actions that came out of that. There's a couple of items that we discussed, and we will do a little bit more work on these and then bring them back here to the bigger committee here, the bigger group. Anybody want to weigh in on the meeting tonight? Okay.
I think so.
That's it for the executive committee. Finance committee? was there a
Finance
meeting?
committee didn't meet during this last month, so.
Right,
The nominating committee did not meet during this last month.
and P&P did not, policies and procedures, not. Outreach and development,
No meeting?
members advisory. Okay, so that's it for the reports of the committees. Our first item under old business would be discussion and possible action to appoint Pearson to the PCA Board of Directors. We were going to do appointments at our last meeting so that all of our terms would end at the same time, and I guess I'll take responsibility for forgetting to do that, but can we,
I
Get
move that
somebody
we appoint Matt Pearson to PCA
okay,
board.
you want to nominate Matt to the?
I do, strongly.
Okay,
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And you're abstaining,
Abstaining,
Tim?
yeah.
Okay, so you did vote for yourself, yes?
I just feel awkward voting for myself in that
Yeah,
case,
well, let's
but
just, it's nice to make things unanimous.
Good to
When we do
stay humble.
unanimous.
It's kind of a metaphysical thing, isn't it?
Okay,
Thank you.
welcome
Postmodern.
to our board, Matt.
Yeah,
Okay. Item number 2 under old business, if we're done with that, and I believe we are. Item number 2 under old business is discussion and possible action on board retreat plans. And we
Yes.
talked about doing a retreat at our last meeting, and
We have a plan.
Jason, John, and I were tasked with taking that offline and kind of molding that. Who wants to report on it? John?
I can report, although you took great notes, so you can chime in.
Yeah.
The idea was that we would exchange the next month's board meeting for a retreat. So it is the same date, the 20th, Tuesday, from 6 to 10 p.m. Where it will happen is an open question. We basically decided to have it at a board member's home. Jason and Cindy both offered theirs. Floor is open if anybody wants to offer their home. We need to decide that tonight. The program is it's called a team building exercise, and we're looking for true colors. That would be the theme. So 6 to 7 would be greetings and refreshments. Each participant would be requested to bring an appetizer that reveals something about themselves, an edible show and tell. Then we would do 7 to 8, we would do interviews, and I threw in the animal kingdom tag. I don't know if Cindy agrees yet. But the idea was the board members would break in. We have 8 board members, so that's 4 pairs. The first round would send those 4 pairs out to do 5-minute interviews, asking questions, one interviewer, one interviewee, seeking to understand how the interviewee responds to situations and challenges. Then you would return to the group and you would have 2 minutes to report on what you've learned. This is part of an exercise of learning how to ask the questions and get to know the people you're talking to. The second round would shuffle the roles. Whoever was an interviewee would become an interviewer, but I think we would also shuffle the pairs so you're not the same 2. The same 5-minute interviews, this time looking for a particular moment in an interviewee's life where their outlook or opinions were shaped or transformed. And then in all of the 2-minute reports, the interviewer will conclude by identifying the animal or natural organism that most resembles the personality they've just explored. And I put a question mark on that because that wasn't in our discussion. I mean, it came up, but it wasn't agreed.
Yeah,
Can the animal be extinct?
Absolutely.
You going for T-Rex?
No.
Tim's like a tree.
Brontosaurus?
Tree.
Okay, well, I know that interviewing can be a challenge. It's an exciting thing, but it helps to have a list of what you're looking for. You need to know what you're looking for. You're kind of probing and trying to get answers, and in 5 minutes, you know, the skill and the excitement of getting to the core is interesting. So I thought I'd throw out some helpers. Then we would break for dinner, 8 to 8:30. Now Jason has offered to provide the main course. That would be a soup or a goulash. Cindy would provide garlic bread, and I tossed in salad if that's okay. I will bring a dessert, and PCA will reimburse for ingredients and provide beverages. Then from 8:30 to 9:30, we have public access Pictionary. Is everybody familiar with Pictionary? You basically break off into teams. You compete against 2 teams would compete. You could have 8 teams, but only 2 play at the same time. The hourglass is turned over. You have 60 seconds to get the person to say the words, the hidden word, by drawing little pictures. And I was going to prepare a deck of public access terminology, and we could play that for a while. Then at 9:30 to 10, there would be a closing statement. You'd have a last chance to give us a sound bite, and it should be fun. That's the plan.
I like it.
I'm sorry, or did you say something?
I said I like it.
Okay.
I'm still ruminating over the animal thing.
I could
I
start
don't know that I want to.
The only reason I'm sensitive to it is invariably someone, I don't know, maybe I'm just hypersensitive. It just seems like when you start comparing people to animals, there could be some feelings that might get hurt. I don't know, it just depends on the animal. Unless everyone's sensitive to begin with and diplomatic.
What if we had a pool of acceptable animals from which to choose?
Yeah, that would help. I mean, but no one wants to be called a pig or
Well,
something
we
like
obviously
that.
didn't put that one in
You
there.
know?
But see, that's
Well,
part
the
of
whole
that's part of the
idea-
challenge of the interviewer.
Well, the idea of it wasn't to be creative. It was because I suggested this exercise, and it
Go figure.
was, you know, to break up in 4, you know,
Right.
in pairs,
Right.
and just to do I interview you, Eric, for a while, and then you interview me, and then the thing is in the larger group, I introduce Eric and I tell him what I know about him now.
Right.
And it's the way of getting everybody to know each other. And that's the idea of the whole.
Mhm.
I'll be happy to scratch the animal. I just thought it would.
I don't wanna be, you know,
Well,
party
yeah.
pooper, I'm always mindful of that kind of
Well,
stuff.
let's just, keeping it simple is more what I'm,
Okay.
Eric wants to say something, I can tell.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
First of all, there's a chance that I'm not quite sure that I won't be here for this retreat because of the timing and the holidays that are coming up. So I'll have to check on that and get back to that. I love the idea of the interviews as an icebreaker, and I think icebreakers are really great. I would wonder if there's a place here or a possible substitution here that just allows for sort of a general open discussion about PCA, its goals, and rather than, because it feels like there's a lot of icebreakers here, rather than an opportunity to really spend some time talking about the future of PCA and in a relaxed and casual manner, which we rarely have the opportunity to do so. So, if there's anything here that might be open for substitution, it might be that, public action Pictionary, which is a great idea, but it feels like another icebreaker. And then there being at dinner for only half an hour, that could really just be a nice dinner conversation for an hour and a half of, PCA and what we could be doing, and really in some visionary terms about what we want to do. We have a lot of issues coming up, and that might be an opportunity to spark some new ideas, rather than spend the time sort of like inwardly understanding each other as individuals. That's just a thought.
Well, that's a very easy switch, but,
Half hour for dinner is really short. That's probably not realistic. It probably would end up taking a little bit longer. But what I was gonna suggest is maybe that's the closing statement. Instead of closing statements, that's where we do what you're discussing.
okay, so we scratch the Pictionary, we go.
Right.
No, I wasn't saying scratch the Pictionary. I'm saying make the 9:30 to 10
Yeah,
all about sort of more collective brainstorming. Is that what you were kind of getting at?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure that would be enough time, and it would be the end of the evening where the little steam starts getting lost. Because I
Okay.
feel like that should be the central core of what this retreat is all about, is sort of like creating a space where we can really create some new ideas and understandings of PCA itself, and that just a suggestion, but that would be it seems like a good place to do it.
So the thing about the interviews, I think, is very cool.
that's a get to know, and this
but-
Pictionary is team.
But at the same time, yeah, I would kind of prioritize the Pictionary thing over the, I don't know, if we had to cut one of them, I think I would rather cut the interviews, simply because this should be a team bonding thing rather than, me getting to have a little bit of insight of one person and then people getting to hear what I learned about them. I don't know. Just a thought, if we have to scratch one.
I don't think we should scratch the interviews because nobody knows. I mean,
Okay.
that's not true.
Here, just-
Um,
Okay, go ahead, I'm
Yeah.
not finished.
What should we scratch then?
No,
Pictionary?
that's
Yeah,
indication, let me jump in.
Yeah, because number one, Neil doesn't know any of us. And, we know each other from this meeting, but do we really know each other? Is that important or not?
Hard to say, Eric is such an enigma.
Well, honestly though, we're not really
Wrapped
gonna
in
know
each
each other much
Yeah.
more in a 5-minute interview. I mean, what if we just, like, everyone, this could be the thing where everyone says for a few minutes some things about themselves and you go around the room. I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out how we don't lose Pictionary.
Okay.
We don't need to lose either
No,
one of them.
let me make a
Well, to
suggestion.
accommodate Eric's.
Yeah, we can take closing statements and
Yeah.
integrate that with break for dinner and make that the hour and talk during dinner.
Yeah, I would suggest.
That's true.
If I may suggest, we could do the 7 to 8 could be the Pictionary. We start with the icebreaker as the Pictionary. We have 8 to 9 as a break for dinner. And then 9 to 10, we do the interviews, but the questions are, what are your dreams for PCA? The subtext in this whole thing is communication. And I think if you are an interviewer trying to find out what somebody else thinks and you're reporting on what they think, you're not implicated in what you're saying. You're translating from somebody else. So that you're getting to know somebody else's vision of PCA and you're experimenting with expressing it. I think it'd be interesting.
That addresses Eric's idea that maybe we could be a little more pertinent also.
Yeah.
I also think that, I like that idea that the 6 to 7 greetings and refreshments might be a long time just to have greetings and refreshments.
Yeah,
We
that's
could do that in
true.
a half an hour and spend more time on these other things, because
Makes
we're gonna
sense.
spend the whole evening together.
That's true.
Yeah,
So 6 to
6:30.
6:30 to 7:30 is Pictionary now, is that okay?
I like the interviews better too,
Yeah, I want
actually.
the interviews at the beginning.
I think that's
too.
interactive enough where, and I like Cindy's point that, you do learn something about each other, and that's team building as well.
Okay, do we leave it as trying to find out personal stuff about the person you're interviewing, or do we try to get visioning for PCA into that?
I like the visioning idea.
Well, may I make another suggestion?
Sure.
If we move that half an hour, and then we turn out, the interviews into 45 minutes, we just gained 45 minutes, and if we add that into the dinner, then we have an hour and 15 for dinner rather than 30 minutes for dinner. And then if we do the Pictionary and cut that down to 45 minutes, we can have an hour and a half for dinner. So we could actually do all of this by just knocking 15 minutes off of Pictionary, interviews, and greetings and refreshments, and have a full hour and a half at dinner time to really have, an in-depth discussion.
Okay, so you're saying we do the 6 to 6:30
Right.
apps, 6:30 to 7:30 do the interviews.
6:30 to 7:15 do the interviews.
Okay,
7:15 to, that would be 8:45 would be break for dinner and PCA. 8:45 to 9:30 would be Pictionary. 9:30 to 10 would be clothing statements.
8:45
To 9:30 would be Pictionary. So basically,
Okay.
we're cutting
Got it.
15 minutes off of
Got
every
it.
single item and adding it to the break for dinner / PCA discussion.
That's
Okay.
7:15 to 8 for dinner?
7:15 to,
No, you were
No,
doing
no,
an
no.
hour and 15 for dinner,
it's
right?
6 to 6:30 for
Okay.
greetings. 6:30 to
7:15.
7:15 for interviews.
Interviews.
7:15 to 8:45
for dinner and discussion.
Right,
It's an hour and a half.
that's right. Well, that's where we want to discuss and really kind of open up
Right,
conversation. 8:45 to 9:30 for Pictionary, and then 9:30 to 10 for closing statements, or
I
however.
like
we
it.
need
I like that. Is everybody good with that?
After all this input, you better show up.
The only thing I'm wondering about is, and I'm just envisioning the dinner part with the discussion, is this, we're talking while we're eating?
I was gonna
You
say.
have to swallow, no, you have to swallow first.
Because
Well, for an
I
hour
was
and a
gonna say
half.
you need a table to go home.
That's what I was
That's
getting
what
at,
you
is I need a
Oh.
table that'll accommodate 8 people at once, if we're gonna do it that way.
Really?
9 if you include John.
Right.
I'll be there. With my
The
chef's hat and my
referee
waders.
hat.
And I'll be serving.
Do you have a big table or would we?
Yeah, that is.
I just have to figure out how I'm gonna do that. That's.
I mean, we can use folding tables.
I mean,
right?
it's one thing if it's like, here's food on a table and people can just kind of sit around, but if it's a focus thing where we're all discussing, then we all pretty
Mhm.
much need to be at one table.
Yeah.
Did you, do you have a dining room table that could accommodate that, or?
No.
No.
How about TV trays?
Well, no, but then we're not, then we're
Maybe
not
we
all
can't
at
have
one
it at
table.
your house.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it could be if I can't do that. Or I'd have to borrow a table,
I've got a table that can do it, if you wanna borrow it.
We maybe should do,
It's big, it's heavy.
Can't we get a couple of,
offline.
the Costco folding tables and put them together?
We used to have our board meetings at 1.
I'm sure we can make it work. I just have to.
Yeah, but I was on the same wavelength, this is a sit-down table.
Yeah, I wasn't envisioning it initially like that. I
That's-
thought
Yeah.
people would just kind of eat, some people would sit at a table, some people would sit maybe at the coffee table in the living room, kind of dispersed around, more like a party kind of dinner. And then we're getting together, but we weren't at like one table situation. So if we are gonna do that, I just have to figure out,
Okay, we can
Where
do
it's
that
going.
offline,
yes.
all right.
Well,
Great.
We are gonna decide,
So is everybody okay with it being at Jason's house? We have to be agreeable to that, yeah?
Well, we haven't seen Jason's
since
house, but
Neil's
we're
not here,
assuming
we
that
can
it's a
have-
very nice house and it'll accommodate us nicely.
It's okay, I mean, we can have, John was gonna inspect, so.
We'll.
There is a plaster issue in one of the bathrooms. I'll tell you all right
Oh,
now.
great, my wife's gonna love
We
that
got 'em,
broadcast.
All right, thank you.
but,
Thank you for
please
sharing
come.
that.
Just kidding. All right.
For the audience, could you repeat that?
So
All
I
right,
will
so
revise these and.
Can we make this work? I mean, it is the same date as the scheduled board meeting, so, everybody should be available.
No, this is true. I'll
That
tell my
was
wife you
directed
said
at
that.
Eric.
The only thing I wanted to ask is if we do need to conduct any business that might arise, would we have another board meeting?
We always have
We
the
could
option
agenda
of
it.
calling a special meeting if we need to.
Yes.
Do you foresee anything that we don't?
Only if we would,
I could say if we don't approve the audit
Audit.
tonight, that might have to go back to the auditors, and then I would really like to wrap that up before the end of the year.
Okay.
But I don't, well, let's
Okay.
cross that bridge when we get to it.
Well, we're
Okay.
November 15th, we have a lot of time before the end of the year.
But to answer your question, Matt, we can always call a special meeting. I have done so in the past.
that's just the major business that I foresee is something we'd like to get accomplished.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So I will revise this and send it out to everybody as the plan. Jason's house.
Okay. Great. We're doing good. Okay.
No action.
We don't need to vote on anything with regards to that retreat, do we?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Under new business, item 3, discussion and possible action to approve the annual report for fiscal year 2010 to 2011.
So, been working on this since late October. I circulated it with the executive committee first. Everybody came back with input. It was revised, and I even took it to staff. I had input from Zach and Stephanie, and I kept tweaking it to within an inch of its life. So the version you all received last, version 4, is the one before us. If that can be put to a motion for approval, or if you have other changes you want to see made to it, now's your chance. Any questions as well, if you would like?
I thought it was nicely done, John, thank you.
Yeah, me too. No discussion, no recommended modifications, we good? Is there a motion to approve?
I so moved.
Second. Matt can.
You were there
This is the
first.
report to the city, so I didn't think you wanted to do that.
And I could second it.
Okay.
Who is it, Tim?
Tim.
I don't care.
Is there anyone who disapproves? Then we're good.
Thank you, that was a very good process.
Yep, thank you, John,
Thank you.
nice work. Okay, item 4, discussion and possible action to approve the draft audit report for fiscal year 2010 to 2011.
Which reminds me to shut my brain off.
I don't know, it's not, I'll check it afterwards.
Okay, Mr. Techie, you're up.
Okay, well, the, working on the draft, it's been going on for a couple of, working on the audit has been going on for a couple of months. I started contacting Torkelson in the middle of October because I could see that we needed to get it done this meeting, if possible. The last 2 times we've done it, they've given us the final verdict, and we've sent it back, and it's cost more money because they had to reopen the audit and write another page to cover the period between when they closed it and when we asked them to change something. So this is the first time we've received drafts. It was very effective. Marcel caught an error. I caught something, a big absence. And Jill herself caught something. So this has been revised. If you want to know, Marcel caught 2 different numbers for the same thing. That was our temporarily restricted cash for capital expenditures. It's the $20,000 that we have in Summit that we got from selling the trailer and truck and some other small items. That's an interesting issue that we could develop when if we have a sit-down meeting with the city, we could talk about whether they want to continue holding the capital expense fund. We are holding our own here, and that was because I tried to put it back into the city's capital expense fund and they didn't want it. They said open up your own account and keep it there. And it's called temporarily restricted because it is kind of in a gray zone. So Marcel corrected that number. My concern was that on page 8, access fees didn't include anything about DIVCA. So I made sure that got in because we actually went into DIVCA after 2 months in this fiscal year. In August it started. So it's definitely the operative funding structure. And then Jill's change was had to do with tax issues around depreciation and that. I'm not exactly sure I understand. It changed the number on the last, second to last page. So basically this is our audit. It's been picked at, and you've all had a chance to read it. I got it to you as soon as I could. I came in Saturday to send it out to, and then the revised version went out yesterday.
Okay. Any discussion?
I feel comfortable.
What are you thinking, Matt?
My concern is I hadn't really had time. I read draft 1 2 weeks ago. Are we going to first send it out?
I sent it out Saturday.
No, draft 1.
Oh, draft 1, yeah, that was some time ago.
And didn't catch anything. I haven't been able to absorb this yet just because of life. But we had some language issues that primarily affected the relationship with the city. And has Tim, have you a chance to read this yet?
I think I read draft 1 also.
And did you see any repeat of language issues the city would find objectionable?
No.
That was the largest concern.
So draft 2 is only incorporating those number changes that Marcel caught, the DIVCA issue that you brought up, and that's it.
Yeah, and a tax classification
Right.
fine tuning that Jill caught.
So what is it that you were objecting to then?
I'm not objecting to anything, there's the fact that I haven't had a chance to read
Questioning.
draft 2 well yet, and that's thoroughly.
But what was the specific language that was an issue before that we want to make sure is corrected this time? 'Cause I recall what you were
Well,
you were
the
talking
specific
about.
language was referring to us is that we had a franchise. which
That was
we
last
did
year.
Last year, and that was a point of contention with the city.
No, it was a point that Tim thought we should clarify.
That.
Maybe
So-
accurate, and then and then also last year there was the typo in the title.
Mhm.
I didn't see anything this year.
Okay. Any other gray areas have been brought up by the auditor?
None whatsoever. We had that pretty extensive fraud questionnaire.
Mhm.
I don't know whether that may have come with the 990 as well. That might have been required by the 990 in their things. But Matt and I both filled out a 10-page questionnaire about potential fraud, where it could happen, any of that kind of thing.
So what did that result in?
That was a preliminary, I think we did it in.
I think it's a
So
preliminary.
separate of the audit, that we don't have, I don't know that that is anything that the city requires with its contract.
No, it's a
Something that they
a
do.
document that the auditor requires to look for any malfeasance in the books, about how books might be manipulated, who would manipulate the books, who has access to both the books, any of our cash and cash flow operations and accounting, and how could they be manipulated to commit a crime against PCA.
Is that something new in FASB?
I actually talked to my friend of the family who is also a CPA, and they said that's standard procedure.
They've always done it?
Well, for her, you know, she was doing it, she works in a different subset, she's an agricultural CPA, but yeah, that's what she said.
I interpreted it kind of like an X-ray to see what our monitoring systems are, if we're, you know, what do we have to monitor those potential loopholes. And I think it was pretty, I think it was pretty safely answered.
Mm-hmm. It addresses if, you know, do we have people that are angry with us and would challenge us, it addresses.
Who could that be?
I want to see these.
It addresses, you know, where could money be spent without any checks and balances? Yes. Yeah, how long would it take
that pretty well?
How long would it take for the checks and balances to be detected?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to ask your question again?
So guessing that we're okay with the results of this, did they incorporate that into draft 2?
Draft 1, it would.
Oh, it was in draft 1?
It would have been in draft 1.
Okay. My recollection is we got the usual, I didn't see anything wrong for what they didn't tell me I didn't do. The usual CPA color we took.
Okay, so it's basically on the first letter, it's,
Anything
you know,
specific about, I don't think there's anything specific.
well, they say, those, we conducted our audit in according with standards generally accepted. Those standards require that we plan and perform the audit to obtain a reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of misstatement. Okay. And these are ways to find out where a possible misstatement might have been hiding. And are we aware of them and are we watching them? Because not everybody, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see anything that directly addresses that. There's some things that they do sort of say as loaded questions, as you could read into, is things like, you know, on page 8, management PCA does not believe the differences between income taxes and PCA measures using current tax position method and the methods PCA used to be previously to be material to the financial position of the PCA. You know, so, you know, when you're talking about part of those questions were taxes and everything else. Potential liabilities that we would have. Would we have any court, criminal judgments, or those liabilities too, or tax liabilities that they may not have been aware of? So those are, how do I put it? You know, those are questions that are connecting to what the form that they asked us to fill out was, or statement.
How much extra did it cost?
No, the
Was the
price
same
went up.
fee?
The price went up because we were going to the big 990, not the short.
This
Classification
federal,
changes.
the feds changed the filing requirements from the 990 easy to the 990
Right.
long form.
And they got statements from the bank, they got statements from the city on the capital expense fund where that's at. So they you know, they did their research, they pulled their numbers together, and
Okay.
they signed this as this is what they found. And it's a clean bill. Now, my experience is after the financial statements are done, they will send us a letter with recommendations that could add something.
And last year they also,
Management findings.
well, last year afterwards, they also sent a
Findings.
set of findings to the bookkeeper that we when we took some things off of certain accounts and moved them to other accounts because they chose that, you know, we took them, how we depreciated them in the tax filings.
Really?
Yeah, so there was a couple items that we created a new account for last year If I can jog my memory with the financial statement, we removed the equipment for capital expenses from
Here's the formula.
the vehicles, and then the equipment that was actually in the vehicles. So yeah, here's a copy of the journal adjustments for last year.
I remember that now.
Yeah, they're cleaning up Hazardous Act too.
There has been some questioning of accounting lines and what, clarification of what they're including in each accounting line in our profit and loss statements and income statements.
So we may still get some findings, but they're usually to make us better, so it's not an issue. And the process, as I understand it, is if this is approved tonight, I tell them tomorrow, and they close the audit, and then they will distribute the final version, and I will deliver it to the city with the annual report.
Can you give me a couple days so I would like to have a conversation with Jill,
Okay.
since it's part of
Well,
the official duties that I have.
well, certainly if the board approves this version, you can be the one to take that information to Jill.
Okay.
So what's the board's pleasure?
A motion to approve?
Does that work for you, Matt? Motion to approve right now?
I'd say a motion to approve pending that there's nothing else that arises at the conversation with the auditor.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You know, do you guys
Sure.
do you give me permission to approve the accept the audit pending that there's no other, I hate to say it, flags that come up in the
You'll
conversation?
leave us with your vote in suspense for days.
So you.
I can notify you, yes. I unfortunately, I'm gonna tell you I probably won't be able to get to it until Friday.
Okay. So are you amending your motion to reflect what it is that Matt just said?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any further discussion?
I will copy the board if anything differs from closing the account out as soon as I know.
Fair enough. Further
So
discussion?
approve, assuming that, could you repeat this?
Well, we haven't taken the vote yet, we're still in discussion, but,
Sorry.
no, it's okay.
So it's a motion to approve the audit contingent on Matt's findings that the audit is approvable?
I don't understand this because the audit I've been working on this for weeks, and that was the process that we could have had a lot of input to Jill. What is it you're thinking is gonna happen?
Nothing, I haven't had a conversation with them at all. So which was counter from last year, so I just thought I'd ask.
Okay, will you be able to do it by Friday?
That's what I'm saying is I have a major event Thursday night, so I won't be able to get to it till Friday,
Okay.
so.
Don't forget,
Hmm?
don't forget.
I have a 3-hour window, that's all I have.
How about if we don't hear back from Matt by Friday, it just goes
Or Saturday.
Saturday?
5 p.m. Friday.
Hey,
I
remind
will
me,
set up, we can set up the appointment with Jill tomorrow. And you'll go on Friday, then finalize it.
we could just do a flat, clean approval, and then should Matt find something that needs work, we could come back and say, we want to rescind that approval on another
Well, if it's,
another vote in a
We
special.
can also do,
isn't that the same
if
thing?
you find, say you found 3 typos on page 4 or something like that, you could mention that to everyone, and I think you can vote electronically on that too. I think John can send out a, sort of like a ballot. I think we're allowed to vote.
Could we approve it?
We
in
couldn't
that?
do it before because not everybody had email.
If we approve it and not,
Well, what if we approve it, but we give it Monday is the approval date? And so he has till Friday to raise any final objections, and if we don't hear anything, it's approved on
Or
Monday.
5 p.m. Friday.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
So the default position is it's approved,
I don't think
effective,
I don't think that's,
can't do
I
that?
think you can, let's say you approve it in principle pending Matt's conversation with Jill. And if Matt's conversations with Jill
Or uneventful.
creates a problem, then you're gonna need another meeting between now and.
How about, you give me, you give advance approval pending finding no negative outcome with the discussion with the auditor.
Right,
That was the motion, I believe, that
Yeah.
Jason made,
yeah.
and the second to
Eric's.
Eric. Okay,
Okay,
so we still fully understand the motion here, yes?
I just, for me, I feel like I haven't had time to go through this with detail yet since the weekend, and that's my main job here, so I would like to make sure that I am comfortable with
Well, you
it.
better step it up a
Appreciate
notch, okay?
Thanks, it's a Saturday.
What do you think you're doing on Saturdays anyway?
Yeah.
Babysitting, actually.
okay.
Okay, so, all those in favor? Okay. All right, we're good with that.
Okay.
The last, item number 5, discussion on possible action on butter and egg parade and youth outreach plans, which is related to that event. I asked for this to be on the agenda because we won't be having a meeting in December that will allow us to start putting this together, and January, remember, is the month that we have to come up with a design, a plan that goes with the theme of the parade and submit the money.
And the speech that we want them to read when.
Right, everything has to be ready in January. So, what are we thinking?
Well, I could tell you that the date of the parade is April 28th. And the theme is River of Dreams, Now and Then. And we do have a crunch in January to put the plan on paper, but I would recommend that the plan be executed before the weekend prior to the parade. And I've already started talking with Cindy and Marcel about this. Marcel has a marvelous idea.
Let's hear it.
I just launched your.
Well, we spoke about it at the outreach. And because last year was my first time at the parade, working the parade, and had to go around looking for parkings. So I thought it would be a good idea if we have one car picking up all the volunteers and bring it to the site. And it would be nice if we had a limousine doing this, and the limousine be in a parade with a banner or something, have school kids or college young people march and distribute flyers instead of old ladies. And we probably could pay them some, and that would be also an incentive to bring them to PC, let them know what PC is. And I think that would be well viewed. Everybody notices a limousine. Everybody likes a stretch limousine, and we'll have the winners of the trophies, the stars of
from the living
PC
area?
and the limousine.
Oh, that's neat.
And I thought maybe instead of the, we still have some T-shirts from last year.
Just the weird sizes, a lot of the weird sizes.
And maybe, I don't know what the cost would be to have a PC flag instead of waving PC flag instead of a T-shirt. That's what my idea is.
So you don't think Cindy should drive the truck again?
Yeah, that's getting old.
She doesn't have
So-
a license.
If they're in a limo,
It's just,
how do you see who's, are they like sticking their heads out of the windows and
that's
shining
what
their
I don't know. Is
awards?
there windows on the stretch? Can
At
you
the-
open the windows in the
At the
stretch?
very back, you can. There's some of them that have a moonroof. where
Moonroof would be
people
good,
could
somebody
stand.
would be, yeah.
Or
Oh, there you go.
If
That makes
you're,
sense.
if you're allowed to.
Oh, they all stay on the.
Limos are
Maybe-
very expensive. The stretch limos are very expensive.
I
We'd
rented a
have to,
limousine
yeah.
for my dog's funeral.
What if we took in kind
5
as
days
a-
ago, $500,
Mm-hmm.
and it was for about.
And can we have a business sponsorship plan that has worked in the past whenever
Exactly,
we need
that's what I'm
something?
thinking.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why we can't apply that here.
Right, right, because,
We also got a limousine for free, but the Phoenix was doing it, and the Phoenix has relationships with them for their artists. So
Right.
that was a different kind of
Right.
relationship, but it can be arranged.
About 5 hours, a limousine's about $500, and maybe
We might
because
have
of
to
the
put their name on
organization.
it.
I'm
Do
sorry,
that.
We might have to put their name on the limousine, but that's easy.
put their name on the door and
Probably
the rest
already is.
PCA.
I think it's a marvelous idea because the designing and building a float is an art and a work. And
yeah,
I think it's a wonderful idea too. I think the crucial execution point is to make sure that everyone understands clearly that these are winners of an award that anyone in the audience can win as well by becoming a member and participating in PCA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's important here. And here's like become, the whole idea, and I think, John, I've heard you say this, become a star.
Yeah,
Become a star at PCA, like these folks here.
Mm-hmm.
So that is appealing to the
Yeah,
kids,
right.
it's appealing to everybody.
Right.
I want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've never seen a limousine in the Butter Next Day Parade, so it would
It
definitely.
So
would get
that's
a lot of
why,
attention.
that's why it would be something
Mhm.
different that would be noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could do a banner just on the side that says, winners 2011 Luminarian,
Mhm.
Video Production Awards, something like that.
Tie it in with the River of Dreams. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a
Yeah.
dream involved, so.
Yeah, a dream of becoming a star. There's a
okay,
a
so
stretch.
I think
Go
what
with
we,
the
what we
flow.
need to do is we need to decide,
I just had an idea about that too.
well, so are you gonna chair the committee?
Hmm?
Great
You're
idea.
gonna chair the Butter and Egg Steak Committee?
Because I have an idea. I don't know. I don't know if I should take that on without all of the board members present that might want to also be included in that decision. Right?
Well, Marcel, would you be interested in?
I would be interested in participating in it, and I could arrange for the limousine. I'll take Ray with me because he's a good speaker.
Ray's a
Maybe
good, he
we could
knows
get
the business
a cup,
sponsorship program.
Well, this is the annual blast from the outreach development. We got Adams, Guy, Johnson, and Davies. You're all there.
It's true.
I
Well,
was just wondering if we find, to me, not that I like the, it's actually probably the easiest idea for us to
Yeah, it
execute.
is.
Exactly.
However, I don't know if it fits well with how we pull it off with the theme, and is the limo company gonna allow us to have time to decorate the limo or something like that, to make the theme feel connected.
I think
So,
it's a PCA flag on the limo. I don't know how they would.
the question is, how do you attach it to the limo? We have to find out
Probably
what's
antenna
it.
or something.
there's gotta be ways to attach things that without
Why don't we have
damaging.
people walking alongside or behind or in front of it or something?
I had a crazy idea. What if the winners of the Luminarian are scattered along the parade route, and as this thing's stopping, a red carpet rolls out and they come in, and it gets
Remember last
captured
year,
on-
we didn't stop, it went so darn fast.
Oh, you're right.
Everybody couldn't keep
I
up.
personally took that issue to Marie. We will not be at the head of the parade.
Oh, okay.
The other thing I was thinking about is maybe instead of making it, since it has an aquatic river theme, that we did something that looked like a boat or a boat, and have people ride on a boat
Yeah.
through the process.
Because that's one of the things, when they take it to, what's Marie's group, the Downtown Association, that it's supposed to, our float or whatever it is that we're entering is supposed to align with the theme of the parade.
Mm-hmm. So how
Well,
do you make a limo
how do
look
yeah,
like
how
a
do you make
boat?
the limo?
Well,
Well, it's the dream of becoming a star.
Isn't that more also for when you're trying to win?
Tim.
Yeah.
So if you don't care about winning, you can do whatever you want.
Well, that's
I
true.
mean, they will not reject you if you
It
are.
won't it get
Yeah.
boring if
Why would we
everyone's
reject
doing a
him?
water theme?
I think
They
I
used
mean,
to-
there's gonna be a lot of boats in this thing, and boats is gonna be a lot of
Another
work to
boat.
try to create something like that. This is.
I personally have an image of a
You know-
large Petaluma paddle wheeler.
To be honest though, a very large car is often referred to as a boat, so it's not
You're like an
much of
old
a
funny
stretch.
Yeah, but who would notice?
I think the signage could recover
Oh, it's only for smart
The
people.
signage could do it.
Well, if you did an American graffiti car being polling boat.
So
Well,
what do we
Matt, I
want?
think you're signing up for a lot of work, because one thing to have an
I know.
idea, and another thing to make.
Here's an idea, the people that didn't win are being pulled behind with like little life preservers or something like that. The losers.
Ski vests, right?
I was trying to write more into this. I was thinking about how do we theme it. That if
Yeah.
it's not themed into what we do, the limo is fine for theming into what we do, as long as we figure out some way to identify the limo as part of, to set the stage essentially for what for what our program is. I'm just trying to figure out, it doesn't tie necessarily
With the
into
feed.
River of Dreams.
They used to bring the feed to the river to transport it by horses. Now use.
Lumos.
Or steamship. but, you know.
Yeah, we could tie the limo up to a team of horses and have the horses pulling the limo.
I was
So
serious, the
anyways,
losers
that
behind
was
life
one idea,
preservers.
and nobody, and we all have some ideas, so you could bring your ideas and whatever we can talk about.
Yeah, we can talk
Form a
about it.
committee to,
Isn't this the
To
kind of the
decide.
function of the outreach committee, and we're like
It is.
enjoying that time?
We already have a subcommittee,
Yep,
a parade subcommittee, which is Marcel.
I was on
Cindy
it last
on
year.
it, and Ray I know is involved in it. I'll on it too. And Cindy, did you want to be on it?
she was
Well, I
last year.
help
you wanna
every
have a
year. I mean,
guest?
the thing is that I usually get stuck doing all of it, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, we
So-
do.
Another thing,
want
Yeah.
to do
another thing I
it.
want to, I just had a
No.
thought about. They make some, there's some amusement companies you could rent, but maybe renting and then it seems we can decorate a road train. And so you just like, they make like steam trains, but they have regular car tires and they can steer them. If you want
And
to
that's
use
the
them.
past.
And as the past, and then have people be in the cars that are the winners, and they put something on the side of the trains.
I think you have
That
to have
fits
a-
the river thing pretty
yeah.
well.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why
Well,
don't
because
we?
we have the tracks down there, I'm trying to figure out, but
Yeah,
that doesn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
fit.
I think there has to be water.
SMART on the.
I think
train.
either we
That
go
could
with
be
the
the theme
theme
next
or we
month.
completely ignore it.
Yeah, I think.
No,
we
Well,
can
like I said, I think
completely-
the theme is for when you're trying to win.
No?
You can't ignore the theme, but Tim has a valid point. If you want to win the best float, you better have a very strong theme.
How much money? What's first prize?
Well,
I don't know what it is, but
I
you know
don't
how,
think it's-
there are some really elaborate.
Can we hire an assistant for
Subscription.
you with
I
money?
don't think it's
Put
about
the
hiring a
money?
professional
Yeah.
designer to win.
What we're talking about is, I think, the easiest idea, and it works with the Limonarian Awards, the Oscars, the River of Dreams, Swim with PCA, and,
Right.
Reach Your Dream. We can sign it and make it fit.
Yeah,
It's easy, it's low-tech. Signage is the only real problem, and negotiating. The most interesting part of it is getting the youth involved, and we haven't talked about that at all, because that is a challenge. You need an incentive. Do they get class credit? Do we pay them? We have an outside services, we could pay them. Thomas is working with Casa Grande right now, and I've got a grant proposal I'm trying to get together for next month, or for January, that would be a youth-oriented project. So we are reaching out to the youth. That is one of our targets in the next year. So I would use this as a way to bring youth in and put their face on PCA. That's the payoff, where I would put most of the energy.
What about, instead of changing that, you had some people that sort of followed the limo like they were paparazzi.
that's a good
And then you
idea.
had the PCA luminarians.
Yeah, that's
That is
great.
cute.
Well,
There's your, have the kids be the paparazzi.
Yeah,
That is cute.
dressed in swimsuits.
Yeah.
Well, I think these are all great ideas, and I think there's enough to begin chewing on at a subcommittee meeting.
Yeah.
And Matt, if you'd like to join that committee, you're more than welcome, because you sound like you have a lot of great ideas, and we'd love to.
It's just time to execute.
Time to execute is always the problem. I think the priority is, first of all, that we show up, we have a presence. Second is that it's easy and quick to because we've had these problems in the past. And then third on the list would be, for me, theme. That's the last thing I would worry about, because I think we already have a little bit of a tie-in of a theme, and that's enough to get going.
And maybe fourth, give Cindy lots of work.
Give Cindy lots of work. And I do love your idea about, you know, carpooling, or we could do something where everyone meets like at the Safeway parking lot, and then just one car goes
Pick up
out from
everybody
there,
at the same
instead of,
place.
you know, going all around
Right.
town to pick up people.
Exactly.
Or someplace that's, you know, that's easily, you know, accessible by vehicle.
I'll bring the Jello shooters, just kidding.
That's on
All right. So is that it?
Tied in.
Are we good?
No action.
Yeah.
SSPCA.
Just putting it on the radar is basically what I want.
So, Marcel, would you
Also
feel
going
comfortable
to
being
boards
the
if they-
chair of that
if the upholstery's
subcommittee?
falling apart, but I might
I
just pull the seats out.
could, yes.
Okay, let me ask Jason if he's,
Or
Jason,
if you-
would,
Jason wants to be,
would
that's
you
fine.
or Marcel, I'll put it at that, would like to be the chair of that subcommittee?
Oh, I was just saying that I know Ray has been involved with it too. I wouldn't want that decision made without his presence. I was just
Okay,
being
so
respectful.
then why don't we just have a meeting of
We
the
can text
subcommittee and we'll make a decision at that point?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So okay, that's great, that's all we have to do.
Okay, then that looks like we're done with our agenda. Anything
Great.
else? Everybody good? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you, Van.
Thanks, Dan.
I was gonna say, if you
Thank
think of a way, I need to do the upholstery.